Greetings, Marsh here, and welcome to episode 199 of my modded Factorio playthrough. In this episode, we are going to work on teleporters and chemical furnaces. Enjoy. Since research is done, let's make sure we've covered everything that we've researched, because we kind of have researched a lot of random stuff. Just to fill everything up here, we have asphalt roads if we want to go through that, but since we're flying around on a jetpack, we don't really need that right now. And same for the auto drive stuff. We just don't drive vehicles anymore, so it's less relevant. It is a little relevant to make fast roads, because you see the walking speed is a very broken 200%. But the drones drive on roads, so we can't exactly fill our entire factory with that stuff. So for now, I'll probably just ignore it. I think I already talked about the power induction, and I think we need the green circuits to get the higher tier of this, where it might actually be useful. But we can make teleporters, and actually that might be a very useful thing for moving around in our factory, and they require lots and lots of accumulators. And are we actually making accumulators, or are we only making the higher tier versions of them, the high capacity accumulators? Well, it looks like accumulators are not currently being produced on this bus anyway. Yeah, it looks like there's 70 high capacity ones in here. I'm not sure exactly where it is. Can't quite see it, but it's in there somewhere. So these things aren't exactly cheap to make. I think I'll just handcraft them. That'll probably be the easiest way to do it. And we'll just make 2 for now, to give a test of how it works. Let's see how long this takes to handcraft. Whoops. The logistics are helping us. We don't want help. Well, that's going to take a little while, I suppose. And not as bad as I was thinking it might. I don't know how worth it is to put accumulators on the bus, considering we don't use accumulators, we use the high capacity versions. I mean, there's certainly lots of things that got researched, lots of exclamation points here. The electric furnaces, which we're not using. Armor plating, which could be useful, but we're not really fighting with machines right now. Items for the future research. And of course, ore sorting. I'll leave those highlighted for now. The silicon nitride, which then lets us make ceramic pipes, which have an underground length of 23 as opposed to 19. So we probably want to do that. So what else does silicon nitride go into? As it turns out, quite a bit of stuff. Like ball bearings. So that's something we probably want to create at a significant rate. There's all of our new processing trees we researched. So, what would 30 be? And I think we're making... Yeah, we're making silicon powder already, right here. And sending it on a train. I don't know if that's really the best thing to use. But that's how it's built. Where we sent the powder up here. So we probably want to do something similar. Well, let's see what 30 per second would give us. And how many are we actually producing down here? Not quite 30. So 30 is probably fairly safe. I guess it just depends on how many machines, and that's a lot of machines. So actually this is probably a pretty good number. I mean, it's really straightforward. You just need the silicon powder, which we grind up from ingots. And we can do productivities. And this doesn't take any modules, so we can't throw productivities in there. But can we do better than Chemical Furnace 1? You would think we could. Yes, we can do number 2. Well, it takes 1, but that really cuts the number down. And these ones... Well, we could do speed modules, but we also need to be concerned with the number of inserters going in and out, which can happen when these things get very fast. But it looks like we would only need 2 stack inserters in and 2 stack inserters out, so we can just throw all speed modules in there to reduce the number. And that's about 30 ingots a second. How many are we making? I think it's these ones right here. Probably not 30. 48. It's actually not terrible. So that's an acceptable number. Then the other question is the nitrogen, which just comes from compressed air. And that'll create a bunch of leftover oxygen. That's a relatively simple setup. We'll just take a block up here for now. As far as where to put it, I guess it would make the most sense to put it over here since it's very similar to this other stuff. And in fact, we probably can combine the two instead of having 2 different lines. Just have one, but based on the position of the depot, we would have to basically move it. And we are getting close to Biter Land over there. Is that Biter Island? It kind of looks like it almost. So it would be kind of annoying to send something all the way down here, but this whole thing's just going to get wider and wider. And right here, if we go to the left, there's a lot of extra space. And there will be a gap right here for the train tracks and also vehicles to drive through. And then another one right here probably. So it's kind of annoying, but we probably just want to move it all the way to the left. So let's see if we have any useful machines to grab. Kind of have to dig through here, because there's probably going to be all the different tiers. But there we go. Chemical Furnace 1. And I don't think we made Chemical Furnace 2, so we can just grab those out of there. And then we want the chemical plants. And I don't think we did the tier 2 of chemical plants either, and we'll probably have a ton of those in here. Oh yes. More than we could possibly need. I'm figuring we should just hand upgrade them all now, since we're here. Then when we run out, we know we need more. Well, that's all we have room for in our inventory, so I guess we'll stick with that for now. And the bots are cleaning things up. Still waiting on this teleporter here, but I guess we're getting pretty close to it being done. And there we go. Then all of the slow upgrades happen for all of those. But now we have some teleporter beacons, which we can put wherever is convenient. Let's plop it there. You can see it's storing all of its energy. Requires 100 megajoules to send or receive a player. So it takes quite a while, and it probably has a huge power consumption. You have 5 megawatts for the one machine, so while it's charging, it's certainly using a lot of power. But it creates a new icon up here. Of course, all these different icons of different colors and types. But you can throw that in here, and then it will create a list of places to go. Might have to change the position of the placeables here, but it has all of your locations and their current level of charge. And you can even rename them. So let's rename this main bus. And now let's put another one down somewhere. And as fast as flying is, it's not instant. Not sure where we'd want to go. It seems like the most common location we might want to fly to is perhaps just the large chemical processing plant here. So how about we'll just plop it in here. And actually, next to the concrete is probably a pretty good spot to put it, since I do jump here quite a few times. So we put that in there. Of course, it starts its charging process. And we'll rename this... We don't want to have too many of them, because, I mean, flying is pretty fast. It's probably closest to stone processing. So we can do that. And then when you want to go somewhere, you just stand on the thing and then select your location. So main bus. Boom. Now we're here. And it used a ton of power from both of them. And we just jumped across the entire map. So we went basically between these 2 points. Boom. Uses lots of power, but it's also instant. Probably shouldn't have done that many times because now there's no power left, but it can be quite fast. And of course, you can have different pages of them and whatnot, but it gets pretty nuts if you have a whole bunch of these things. This list can get very long, so kind of want to be careful with them. But it is a faster way of travel. For now, I'm going to see what it's like not having it on all the time. And looks like Y is also shared by Recipe Explorer here, but maybe those can be changed later. But we'll see how that works. And see if I actually use them or if I just keep flying for some reason. As your base gets bigger, it gets much more convenient, and probably the best part of it, and I guess we can't upgrade to increase the buffer size, so we may want to do that, and that's a huge research. Let's wait on researching that until we have the gas processing set up for rubber. That way we can actually use some of those byproducts and just see how much rubber it actually makes. But there is advanced teleportation that's buried down here. But basically, it's a teleporter for your character, and it will let you teleport to any beacon you want to, just from wherever you happen to be. You don't actually have to run to one first, which is super useful, and it also just lets you teleport to any location on the map. You just click somewhere and you go. It just uses a progressively larger amount of energy the farther you want to go, but that saves you from having to go to the beacons at all. So it definitely gets pretty awesome. But for now, we'll go with this and see how it works. And it looks like we just finished building all of the things we needed. So what kind of stuff would we need here? Kind of want to try to reuse what we have access to here without totally just wasting resources. Of course, just notice the number of machines we need is 194, and I manufactured 16 of them. So I think we're going to need a few more than that. And since that's all we had here, let's make a new line for it then. So that's another thing to make here. And we might find that a lot of machines use the same resources. So like, for example, Chemical Furnace 2 requires aluminum concrete, electronic boards, and brass pipes. Well, so too are Blast Furnace 3s. So it all depends on the tier of machine here, but you see how some things are shared. So if we're going to make one, we might want to make the other as well. And we should probably kind of go through the things we can craft and see if there's a lot of commonality. I mean, there basically is between all these things. So we probably want to do it similar to this, where we have a large amount of resources come in and then they just get flown to where they need to go. So even though on the small scale we can just pull some belts out and then make this chemical furnace, we probably want to keep in mind that we're going to be making other things. So let's check it at a 1-to-1 ratio and just see what the numbers are. Looks like on all these machines they just used the efficiencies, so we should probably do the same here. 0.4 per second. It'll take a couple of minutes to make what we need, but not that long. Then we need our tiers of pipes here. It can't use productivities, but we should probably use speeds here to get it down to below 1. And it looks like no amount of them is going to make that happen. So we'll get it below 2 and put efficiencies in there. Although we may want to beef this up for just other machine types, but at the same time, we could just add more machines to increase productivity if we really need it. I guess it all depends, really. But considering that this isn't the only machine that's manufacturing stuff using these pipes, we probably should build it up for the future and make it bigger. We'll probably just build it up to 1 belt. So perhaps have it be separate here. So we want our brass pipes, but we actually want it based on input. And we'll do an input and unlink it. And then the input is 30. Speed modules, so they'll just pump out a bunch of pipes. And we'll need some for this, but then we'll have extras. And we'll do the same here. Where we have extra pipes. And it looks like slightly higher than 30 per second of bronze plates, because this machine uses a few, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. And we need an aluminum chopper. Kind of the same concept here. So we want to have potentially a lot more, but we only need one machine. Well, even with productivities, we need a few. So let's just set that to input and see what we get there. If we have 2.5 machines, that's going to create some extra aluminum. And that seems pretty good. So we have a new thing we want to pin. Although they all are separated, which is a little annoying. We want to copy kind of what we've done before with a new setup. And probably something like that. So let's just go down there. And we'll just see what it looks like. Well, on one side, we're going to need to have all of the choppers. And we might need more chopper types in the future, but I suppose we can put those on the other side. But we'll see how this works. We'll just do it for as it is. So we have 2 different choppers, which are here. It looks like they're basically the same. So we can just use one pin. Oh, and actually we don't need choppers at all, because they're alloys. But the idea is the same. Where one belt goes in, we have a bunch of assembling machines, and then the pipes come out. So, let's find a blueprint to use, and just copy this. The reason being is so I can get rid of these requester chests. And we'll see how it looks with the rest of the other things. But that way, so we place it down, we don't just get a bunch of stuff being requested by the chests. So line it up here. The 2 spaces should be fine. Because I think if this expanded anywhere, it would expand down. And there's plenty of space for more belts to come in if they need to. So this should be okay. So right there. And are the bots zipping to work? Yep. And here they come. Thank you, bots. And that should get us our 2 pipe types. Oh, we did need to do the aluminum chopper here, which does take up some space. Well, the great thing about bots is that is something that you can do. And now we have space. So 2.5, so basically the same thing. Just another set of machines. These ones can probably get by with being yellow, though. Oh yes, and the inserter speed might be different, so we probably should double check that. Looks like a stack inserter in and out for each. Then we can slam this back in here. And then we just have a grid of machines here. Although we won't have much to begin with. So we won't need any of that. Just this part right here. The first one making tier 1. And then making the tier 2. And we also want to make sure they have a place to go. So the tier 1 chemical furnace and the tier 2. And these are set up to make 10. We probably want like 200 since we kind of need that number. So we'll set 200 there, and then this one can be much smaller, like, I don't know, 50 or something. So we can kind of put that to the test by taking what we have and throwing it in the trash slots. And they do put them in there. Oh yes, I believe we needed the efficiencies in there. And there's no other extra machines. So that's all we have in the network. So now it's time for the requester chests. Although we probably don't want to set them up quite yet, because otherwise they're going to send bots from really far away. Although we still might run into that problem when it's first starting, but we'll see how it works. We have our setup here, so we need to get each resource type sent in. We finally are using our bricks, which we haven't really been doing up until this point. But now we can send them down. Looks like we kind of have some overlap here. There's going to be a lot of belts in this general vicinity, but we should be able to make it work. So now we're finally using every single resource that we've brought to our new bus. This is kind of why I prefer to only have one belt of resource unless you absolutely need more than one, because, I mean, for real, look at this. Like, how are you going to split all these things around and you have to balance them all? Like, it's just going to be insanity. So it's better to have something that you can live with. And this is something that you can live with, because you do have to jump over some of these things, but otherwise you can just drag the belt down and call it a day. And then we need both circuit types, which are up here, but good luck getting them down here. Well, we have a space here. Could we possibly make it fit to get there? Maybe. Maybe. Because we could do this. It'll be down. Go there. Jump across. Jump across. Okay. And what about the next one over? There is a space there. But it's probably not going to happen because this belt is kind of in the same spot. And there is a belt here. There is a space right here. So can we do something like this? We can go up, over, and then down. Success. And I think that's all the resources we need. Well, exception of these undergrounds here. I don't know if do we want to do a second belt for them? Maybe. Guess it depends on how busy it is. Because another solution is just to have a belt moving to the side here and just go into one of these chests. Or just have a chest right here and have them just pick them up and slide them over here. It's not quite as close, but how many of these things are we honestly going to need to make? Probably not a ton of them. And actually, we could make it a lot closer. It would be a little bit of movement of these machines, but we can do something like this and actually probably just copy the whole thing of one of these. Just have something like that to fill that up. So let's start hooking things up and seeing what happens. Seems good enough so far. And those are going to take a little while because they're plate choppers. Okay, let's connect these ones as well. I mean, it's worked before, so there's no reason it shouldn't now. And of course the bots are filling us up because this is a close location. I believe we had a setup all the way down here that can also work. But this is more of a dump point, than a supply point. So I believe we had those bricks on our request list, and for quite a long time we didn't get any because we didn't have them available, but now they are. Okay, now that that's filled up, we should be able to place down our requesters, and we'll want to do this in a careful way. So we'll put the requester chest out here out of the network. And actually, let's fill this one up first. So right click, left click, put it over there, and then get rid of the things that it doesn't need to be sent by bots, which is the chemical furnaces themselves. These other items, it does. Right click, left click. And then there they go. That's actually kind of a lot faster than I was expecting. And maybe it's just because the speed of this machine isn't very fast, so it didn't need to do a bunch of stuff. Well, and then this one, we don't need to do the copy trick because it doesn't have any previous tier of machine. So, oh, looks like they're grabbing pipes from elsewhere. That's why it took a while. There we go. Well, they're going to be there a while. Anyway, let the insanity begin. Well, if we could see, I'm sure it's working quite well. I mean, it's fine. And this side is also fine. And we're slowly but surely making our chemical furnaces. I know we got a bit distracted from electronic boards here, but we do want to take care of this other stuff first because it contributes. And that's the end of this episode. On the next one, we are going to work on that silicon nitride setup. Thanks for watching. I'll see you later.